everybody. This is Lisa Kessler, Kessler Insurance, and I am here again on behalf of Cheers for Charity New Hampshire. And I have the privilege of always doing this with my dear friend JoAnn. Hey, JoAnn.
Hey, Lisa. Hi, good morning. Well, it doesn't matter when you listen to this. I'm JoAnn with Lighthouse Physical Therapy. So happy to have another broadcast of our Cheers for Charity, and very interested to hear about this new charity. So I would like to welcome Janis with Dress for School Success. We're so happy to have you on today. And please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your organization, and love to hear about it.
Sure. So, my name's Janis Merrow, and I am with Dress for School Success. And I wish I could say that I developed the program, but I did not. I actually inherited the program about 8 years ago from two Girl Scouts. Two young girls started the program as their Girl Scout project. And at that time, they had one rack with just a bunch of hand-me-down clothing that they were providing to school children that were less fortunate, that didn't have school appropriate clothes. Their thought process was, at that time, I think they both were in fifth grade, and they realized very quickly how kids judge other kids for what they wear. And they figured if they could give less fortunate kids one less thing to worry about, that would be great. So that was the premise, and that's how it all got started. As they approached high school years and all the demands of high school sports and all that stuff, they found themselves struggling to keep it going. At that point, they had grown it to be pretty good size, with the help of obviously their parents and the local food pantry at Hobbs House and Hampton Community Coalition. They had space in that building at Trinity Church. And I had been a volunteer with Hobbs House and HCC for a number of years. And so the director of Hampton Community Coalition approached me and said, "Hey, Jan, these girls, they got high school demands. Yeah, they're willing to help, but they cannot spearhead the program anymore. Is it something that you would like to take on?" And I'm like, absolutely. So in the past 8 years, myself and four board members have been running the show. We have lots of high school kids and middle school kids that use the program to get volunteer hours. So they help us out by stocking clothing and, keeping the room nice and organized and neat. And it has filled my heart with joy for the 8 years I've been involved. My two daughters are actively involved with me. And every time I go there and meet with people and set up appointments and do distribution nights, the people that come in and say, "Oh, I can just take these things and it doesn't cost anything." And you see their faces just light up like, "Oh gosh." This time of year, the demand is really high. I know we had distribution 2 weeks ago, and it was the most families I've ever seen come through in the 8 years. I would have to say there was probably close to 45 families that came in. Um, and they filled up bags and pretty much wiped out the whole room. It is restocked. We do have an amazing community. Anytime I need clothing, if I'm short on a size, I just post on my Facebook page, and the next time I go over to the site, there's bags and bags. I mean, we've had people that don't have children say, "Oh, well, I'm just going to log on and log on to Old Navy. What do you need?" And they purchase things and have it shipped to our location. Our community is amazing, is absolutely amazing. The outpouring of support and, monetary support when we need it has just been, it's just crazy. It's one of those things where you go, "God, this is wonderful." You see so much bad news on the news. And when you see, people helping other people, it just fills my heart.
It fills my heart just listening to this. This is so two Girl Scouts started this. I
Mhm.
love that. What a great vision they had, and how many peers that they've helped. So share a little bit about the experience for somebody and kind of, is this girls and boys? What kind of, is it clothes or is it, like other items as well? What would be their experience when they came there? And do they have to set up an appointment? I guess is another question I had.
Yeah, so we have clothing from size 5 to triple XL. So we can service anybody from kindergarten. I mean, the target market obviously is kids that are in school, so kindergarten through 12th grade. We provide clothing. We don't provide undergarments and things like that. However, through generous support from people making donations and people in our community, we do have gift cards so that if there are families that, they're like, okay, yeah, but we need, socks and undergarments, or we need boots. Those things are hard to stock. So, it gets a little tricky there. So we end up having gift cards available for those people. And typically, so I have a really close relationship with a lot of organizations, including the school counselors, all the school counselors local in the Seacoast. They all know about Dress for School Success. They're typically the people that will recommend, students to seek out help and to come over with their parents. Um, most of the people that come over will go over during open hours at the community center. They're open 2 days a week, so they'll go over during that time. And there's lots of other support there. So sometimes people are over there trying to get fuel assistance or car assistance and that kind of stuff at Hampton Community Coalition. So the people that work those desks will say, oh, well, do you need any clothing for your children? And they'll walk them down the hall, and they typically shop. If they cannot be there, if the people cannot, make themselves available during those hours, they just send me an email and I'll meet them over there whenever, or one of the volunteers. So, and then once a month there's distribution night. So they come over to go to the food pantry, and then they walk upstairs and they come and shop. And so it's a lot of the folks, it's like hitting the lottery for them. They'll go downstairs and pick up all their food and get a food card for a grocery store as well, and then they come upstairs and grab some clothing, and they're just thrilled to be able to have that support.
That is fantastic. Is there anything in particular that you tend to be low on that you're usually consistently asking for?
This time of year, obviously warm clothing, coats, snow pants are a really big thing for the school kids, especially the younger ones. Last year it was so interesting because we had so many requests for snow pants, and even like when I gave people gift cards to like Walmart and Kohl's and things like that, they're like, oh, well, they don't have any. It's like, oh goodness. I don't know why, but there was a shortage on snow pants last year. But yeah, this time of year it's typically, warm clothing. And most of the parents that come in, I would say, would be people that are shopping for kids kindergarten through probably 4th, 5th grade. Although we do have a really close relationship with the school counselor at the high school. And typically what'll happen there is the kids are too proud to come over themselves. So the school counselor will provide me with sizes, and, I'll just bag them up and drop them off at the high school, and the kids are all set. I mean, we do have relationships with Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. I mean, I've boxed stuff up and sent them to people's homes in Deerfield. And it's interesting because lately, I'm not sure exactly how, but a local pediatrician's office must have found out about us. And I've had people contact me and say, I found out about you through the pediatrician's office, can I meet you? Which is fabulous. I mean, and although we are located in the Seacoast, we'll service anybody. If there's somebody that's, in Manchester that needs stuff and we find out about it, I will drive it over or mail it or do whatever, they can come over here if possible. We never have a problem with intake, and we just want to always make sure that we have people that utilize what we have.
Now, what about people that would like to donate things? Are there some guidelines or like specific times that people could come and drop off their things?
Yeah, so the guidelines are they have to be school appropriate clothing, gently worn and clean. That's pretty much it. And people can, it's actually quite nice because people can drop off almost any time. So our actual location is 200 High Street in Hampton, and it's located as part of the Trinity Church. And if you pull in the parking lot, there's a like a breezeway that goes into Hobbs Hall, is what they call it. And people just leave bags in there. And we have volunteers that go over there at least once a week and take the stuff, go through the bags, and then organize it on the shelves because it's all shelved by sizing and gender.
So girls and boys, right?
Girls and boys, yep. And again, I know I had mentioned it before, but other people that want to contribute that don't have kids, their kids are grown or whatever, oftentimes will mail us gift cards or, go online to one of the local stores, Kohl's or Old Navy or whatever, and, shop and, buy, half a dozen shirts and pants or whatever, and just have it shipped directly to Dress for School Success at 200 High Street in Hampton. So that's been something that's really blown up, I would say, during COVID, because we did a lot of marketing and people were like, oh, they wanted to help, but they didn't have kids. And it actually, one of my sister's neighbors down in Salem, Mass, she's like, I want to help. And she goes, and she did that. And I got this huge box and I was just like, Carol, oh my God. People just want to know how they can help. And, you just sometimes just have to make the ask and just tell them, and gift cards are always a great option. We typically will ask people if they're going to donate gift cards to do them in $25 denomination for, Kohl's or Walmart, Target, Marshalls. Those are typically the places that we'll get gift cards for.
Wonderful. Yeah, so many different options. What is your website actually? Because I did try to find you and I couldn't figure it out.
Well, my website is in tough shape. And so we actually let our domain go this year because we decided as a board that we were going to use social media and utilize those resources rather than spend the money to maintain the domain. So our website is pretty much down. I mean, I don't think it even exists at all anymore. It was kind of one of those tough decisions. Do we go ahead and spend the money for, to renew every year, which is, $75, or do we use that money to put back into the program? And after speaking with my marketing person, she's like, Mom, websites, it's probably not worth the money. She goes, just let me do stuff on the Facebook page. So we definitely just use our Facebook page for communication. And, the schools are great about including it in their newsletters. They all send it out twice a year in their newsletters, reminding, all the parents if they need things, or, a lot of parents are like, oh, this is great. I can, send the hand-me-down clothing from my children over there instead of dropping it in one of the other bins.
You partner with other organizations as well?
Not really. We just kind of, I mean, I know we send a lot of stuff over because, sometimes people will drop off things that they think are school appropriate, but, a business suit, unfortunately, is not, I don't know any high school kids that are wearing a business suit. So a lot of times if we have things like that, we'll drop off at St. Vincent de Paul. And if they receive stuff that they think is appropriate for us, they'll send it over to us. We did have two locations for a while. We had a location down at Seacoast Youth Services. They actually were like, oh, it'd be great to have, some teen clothing down there. But they needed the space, and it was hard for us to manage the two locations. So we ended up pulling back, but they still send students over, or I still hear from them quite frequently.
Well, this is awesome, Janice. I find it so interesting to hear what, what you're able to do, and how you're able to make an impact. How many families do you think, you've said you've had 45 families just on a one event. Do you guys have any idea how many lives you guys may have touched, even this year, or just any ballparks?
Yeah, well, and see, a lot of the families are repeat families. So
Of
like,
course, different seasons,
at
they grow.
distribution night, yeah, the kids grow and the seasons change and whatever. In a typical year, we've we've kept track. Like last year, we had about 270 families that came through. And we're open all the time, but it drops off a lot during the summer. So typically during July and August, we don't see many people, much traffic, because most of the kids that get sent through are recommended from the school guidance counselor, and it's school appropriate clothing, even though we have summer stuff. So I would say typically we're between the 200, 250 a year. Um, this year, I can honestly say I know it's going to probably be more. I mean, with inflation being the way it is, I know that, even the families that came at distribution night were like, God, this is going to help out so much. And, you heard them talking amongst themselves about escalating energy costs and, oh, we don't know how we're going to pay our oil bill. And the nice part is, because we are located in the same building as Hampton Community Coalition, um, they utilize those services. They, fuel assistance and stuff like that. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for these people that are in a tough position.
Yeah, it makes it so convenient.
It's such an important thing. It's just a great example of neighbors helping neighbors, making a difference for, all of us. At some point could be any one of us, right? That needs a handout, needs a help, needs a lift up, right? So
Well, I'll tell you, in closing, I'll tell you one of the most impactful stories that hit home with me, and this happened about 4 years ago. I had a mom reach out and she said, can I make an appointment to come over? And I said, absolutely. So it was during the day, during the school day. And, I broke away from work and went over. And she came in and she had an infant on her hip. And then she had like a 2-year-old. And she walked in and I said, can I help you find sizes? She said, yeah, I have one more child in school. And all of a sudden she just started crying. And I said, are you okay? She was a woman that lived in a big, beautiful house in an affluent town here in the Seacoast. Her husband had left her 2 years prior and was pretty much a deadbeat dad. So she was not able to collect any money through him. Moved into summer housing, summer housing down at the beach, and this was during the fall. She was there for about 6 weeks, and her children all became very sick. Come to find out, it was because there was so much mold in the house that they were living in. They had to get rid of everything they had. So she was then at that point living in a hotel with her 3 children just by herself. No family local to, family support to help. And she told me that story. And, I helped her bag up clothing. She was so grateful. I saw her maybe 2 more times after that. But after that day, I walked down to my car and I sat in the car and I'm like, oh my God, that could be me. That could have been any of my friends. It could be anybody. Your life can change that quickly. And she was just, and I told her about the other support that was in the building. And she was like, wow, how grateful, can I be? She said, you never expect to be in that situation. And that's what keeps me going. Seeing these people that, I mean, you can't predict when bad luck's going to hit.
And we're so fortunate on the Seacoast to have so many great organizations like yours now that we know about that are out there helping those families. And you're right. You never know when the tides turn and you're in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Janice, we so appreciate everything that you do. We so appreciate the difference that you're making in people's lives every single day. And we really appreciate you sharing the story with us and taking the time with us today. It means a
Uh,
lot.
my absolute pleasure. I mean, this is what I'm passionate about. I mean, I work, but this is my real work.
Well, we're so grateful you do it. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you guys, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you too.